Thank you for watching my previous video discussion, which is the physical self. And thank you again dahil andito na naman kayo manonood sa another lesson, sa another na mag-gain nothing knowledge, which is I will be discussing about the sexual self. Hello, good day everyone, and nice to see you watching my video again. So our topic for today is all about the sexual self. But before that, let's try to differentiate or define the key terms, which is the sex, the gender preference, the gender identity, and the sexual orientations. Okay, so first is what is gender. So gender, palagi nating naririnig yan, palagi natin nakikita kung nag-fill out tayo ng forms. So what is really means by gender? Okay, gender identity, it is your psychological sense of self. Okay? Kung sino ka, or in your head, know yourself to be based on how much you align or don't align with what you understand to be the options of gender. So meaning, in layman's term, gender is the characteristics of a man or a woman or a girl or a boy that are socially constructed. Okay? So when we say socially constructed, it is depends on the influence of our environment. Just like for an example, in the pattern or in the theory of classical conditioning. So when a person was conditioned, when a boy was conditioned to be a girl, okay, kinondition siya na, ito ang dapat mong damit, pang babae, at saka dapat ang galaw mo, pang babae. Lalaki yung bata. Okay, so ay isipin ng bata, okay, I need to be a feminine walk, I have to be follow the actions of being a girl, mga ganyan. So in that thing, nade-develop yung condition ng bata or nade-develop siya na maging isang gay in the future. Just like for an example, at the age of 5 to 6 years old, it is the critical stage of our childhood. Because kapag ang lalaki, ang bata, ang 6 years old boy, kailangan niya yung aruga or yung pag-aalaga sa kanila, it should be their father. Why? Kasi yung environment, okay, is makikita niya na puro lalaki ang nakasurround sa kanya. Okay, my gender role was to be a man. Okay? Pag babae naman, kailangan dapat magnanay niya para maturuan ng proper hygiene of being a girl or being a woman in the future. Okay? So that is gender. Pero kapag sinabi natin na sex refers to the biological differences between the males and females. Okay? Such as the genitalia and the genetic differences. Okay? Pag sinabi nating sex, it is your biological differences. Okay? It is your external genitalia. Yung tinatawag na penis at saka vagina. Okay? Yun yung sex. O kapag tinanong ako kung anong sex ko, I must say na I'm a male. Okay? Pag sinabing sex, it is kung anong nakadikit na sa akin na hindi ko na matatanggal. Okay? Yun na yung penis at saka vagina na meron kayo. Okay? So, kapag nag-fill out kayo na may nakita kayong gender, ang nilalagay mostly natin is either male or female. Pero meron din dun na nilalagay na nila is yung sex. Okay? Which is yun yung tama na dapat ilagay. Next is gender identity. Okay? In gender identity, dito na papasok yung gender preference mo. Okay? So gender identity means a person's internal sense of whether they are a female or a male or both or wala doon. Okay? It's a person's internal or deeply held sense of one's gender. Gender identity is not visible to others. Okay? Because gender identity, it is your personal sense of one's own gender. Okay? It is your gender preference no matter what happened. Kung ano ang nafe-feel mo, kung ano ang naiisip mo na uri mo sa mundo. Halimbawa, ang gender preference ko is a gay. and a bisexual. Okay? So in that thing, yun yung gender preference ko, na there should always acceptance, not only in myself, but also to my environment. Okay? Because we have our own uniqueness. Okay? And also it intertwined with our responsibilities and accountabilities as a woman, and that matters all, the responsibility and accountability of being a human. Okay, so that is gender identity. Okay, so when we say gender expression, it is on how you express your gender. Okay, a person's gender expressed outwardly through their name, pronouns, clothing, haircut, behavior, voice, or body characteristics. Okay, just like for example, si Vice Ganda. Anong gender ni Vice Ganda? Ang gender ni Vice Ganda is feminine siya. Ang sex ni Vice Ganda is male kasi yung external genitalia niya, may penis siya. Okay? So ang gender identity ni Vice Ganda is gay. Okay? So, how Vice Ganda express himself. Okay? Ano yan? Cross-dresser siya paminsan-minsan. Okay? May time na cross-dresser siya, may time na panlalaki pa rin yung damit niya. So, pwede lang yun. Tsaka the way yung voice niya, parang iniba-iba niya na, di ba? Parang pang-babae na. So, that is the gender expression. Okay? So, ang sexual orientation is an enduring pattern of romantic or sexual attraction, okay? Or a combination of these to a persons of the opposite sex or gender, the same sex or gender, or the both sexes, or more than one gender, or minsan wala ka pang nagugustuhan. So in sexual orientation, it is really important to know kung saan, or it's really important kung kanino tayo naa-attract. Okay, just like for an example, the best example was si Vice Ganda. Ang gender ni Vice Ganda is feminine. Okay? Ang sex ni Vice Ganda is male. Kasi yung external genitalia niya, may penis yun, may utin si Vice Ganda, kahit anong gawin mo. Ang gender identity ni Vice Ganda is gay. Okay? Bakla siya. Paano manamit si Vice Ganda? Ang gender expression niya is minsan cross-dresser. Okay? So, ang sexual orientation ni Vice Ganda is homosexual. Okay? Malalaman natin mamaya kung anong meaning ng homosexual. At saka madami pa yan. May homosexual, may heterosexual, may bisexual. Okay, malalaman natin kung paano differentiate itong mga concept na ito. Okay? So, first na matatakal natin sa sexual orientation is the heterosexual. But before that, let's try to define what is LGBT or what is LGBTIA+ stands for. So, pag sinabi nating L, lesbian, kapag G, gay, B, bisexual, T, transgender, Q, queer, I is a intersex, and A is a asexual, and more. Dati, ang tawag dito is LGBTQ+, yun ang dati yung tawag. Pero ngayon, nadagdag na ng intersex at saka asexual. So, lahat yan, matatakal natin kung anong difference nila at anong meaning nila. Okay? So, first is, let's try to complete the sentence. Okay? So, try to complete this sentence. I am blank. I will give you 3 seconds. Okay. Narinig ko na may nagsabi ng I am a girl, I am a boy, I am a gay, I am a lesbian, I am a transgender. Naririnig ko. Okay, so it is a matter of acceptance. Okay? We are now stepping in the threshold of 21st century na everything around the world are really diversified. And it's really upholding each uniqueness, okay? But don't forget your gender role, okay? Your responsibility, your accountability as a human. Don't forget that. That your accountability and responsibility, it really, really matters more, okay? It really means all, okay? So next is the kinds of sexual orientation, okay? Very exciting tong topic na to kasi very rampant issues nowadays, okay? Kasi madaming nadidiscriminate dinidiscriminate ang mga LGBT community, hindi tanggap, mga ganyan. So let's try to see beyond their personality, okay? So first is heterosexual. When we say heterosexual, people who are heterosexual are romantically and physically attracted to members of the opposite sex. Okay? Heterosexual males are attracted to females, and heterosexual females are attracted to males. Heterosexuals are sometimes called straight. Okay? This is very common. Okay? Ito na yung magjowa na mag-boyfriend, girlfriend na straight sila. So this is very common. Yung parents natin is one of the best example na they are straight man and they are straight woman. Okay? Gaya din nyo. Di ba may jowa din kayo na straight. So that is, ang tawag sa inyo is heterosexual. So try to see this picture, okay? Between a man and a woman. Okay? So ang tawag sa kanila is heterosexual dahil straight sila. Okay? So, bakit ko matatanong nyo, kapag ba ang bakla or kapag ba ang straight na lalaki, okay, pinatulan niya ang bakla, okay, naging sila, matatawag ba na yung lalaki ay straight or hindi? Malalaman natin yan mamaya sa pagbabalik ng charot. Okay, so next is bisexual. It's really, really dominating kinds of sexual orientation ngayon, ang bisexual. Okay, so people who are bisexual are romantically and physically attracted to members of both sexes. Okay, pag sinabi nating bisexual, ako, halimbawa, bisexual ako, nagkakagusto ako either sa babae or sa lalaki. Okay, that is bisexual. Okay, either babae man ang gusto ko or lalaki. Bisexual ang tawag doon. Pero kapag gay ay ako, nagkakagusto lang ako sa isang sex. Okay, halimbawa, lalaki ako. Nagkakagusto ako sa kapwa ko lalaki. Lalaki lang. Okay, that is a gay. Okay? That is a gay. Hindi mo siya matatawag na bisexual kasi hindi siya attracted sa babae. Okay? Ganun din sa mga babae, ang tawag sa kanila is tomboy. Okay? Ang tomboy is attracted lang sa female. Pero, kapag yung tomboy, attracted na siya sa dalawa, hindi na siya tomboy. Ang tawag na sa kanya, bisexual. Okay? I hope that you got that one. And may nakapag-isip-isip na siguro dyan, ay ala, bisexual na ata ako. Ay ala, ito ako, bisexual. Mga ganyan. So, try to see this picture. Okay? Ang sweet naman nila. Nakakaingit. Kaya sinabi ko din nung ginagawa ko tong PowerPoint, why I am going to discuss this one, I'm single. It really covers me pain. I couldn't see the likeness of love for me. Because, you know, I was in the relationship before I was dumped in that thing. So I don't want to go back in the same place I lost my happiness. I have to be happy. I need to be happy on myself. I need to be happy alone. And I can do all things. Okay? Kaya ko naman kahit mag-isa ako. Oh, charot. Next is asexual. Okay, asexual. Okay? People who are asexual may not be interested in sex but they are still emotionally close to other people. Oh, may ganun pala. Okay? Kapag you are not very, yung pakikipagtalik, okay, yung pakikipag-intercourse, may mga taong ganun pala, okay, na ayaw nilang makipag-sex, but they still feel emotionally close to the other people. Okay? Kaya kapag depende na lang kung ang makakajowa mo ay hindi mahilig sa sex. Okay? Kawawa ka na ikaw na mahilig sa sex tapos yung magiging jowa mo hindi siya mahilig sa sex. Ay, ewan ko na lang. Okay? But they are both. Okay? People who are asexual may not be interested in sex, but they still feel emotionally close to other people. Okay? That is asexual. Okay? That is asexual. Na hindi sila mahilig sa sex. But they are emotionally close to other people. May attraction pa rin na nangyayari. Pero walang intercourse na nangyayari. Napaka-boring naman kapag ganun. Okay, next is pansexual. Okay? A term that describes individuals who can experience sexual, romantic, or emotional attraction to any person regardless of that person's gender, sex, or sexuality. Okay, pag sinabi natin pansexual, okay, ito na yung madami kang hindi mo alam kung sino yung gusto mo. Kaya nagkakagusto ka na lang sa bakla, nagkakagusto ka na lang sa tomboy, nagkakagusto ka na lang sa babae, sa lalaki, kahit sa asexual nagkakagusto ka, kahit sino, okay, nagugustuhan mo. Okay? So that is a pansexual. Okay, this is their flag, the pansexual. Okay? So I think you are confusing kung ano talaga ang gusto mo. But sometimes na ang mga pansexual are really confused kung sino talaga sa kanila ang wholeheartedly attracted, okay, sa sexual nila. Okay, they are merely confused on their sexual orientation. Okay? So that is pansexual. Attracted ka sa madami. Grabe naman yun, no? Kahit sino papatulan mo. Charot! Next is polysexual. Pag sinabi natin poly is madami, right? Okay, so it is an umbrella term that describes individuals who aren't exclusively heterosexual. The term queer, okay, the Q in LGBTIA+, acknowledges the sexuality is a spectrum as opposed to a collection of independent and mutuality exclusive categories. Okay? So polysexual, it is the umbrella term that describes individual, okay, who aren't exclusively heterosexual. Okay? So polysexual is the term queer. Okay? The term queer, the Q, and the LGBT. Acknowledge that sexuality is a spectrum that is opposed. Okay? So next is homosexual. Okay? Homosexual is a romantic attraction, sexual attraction, or sexual behavior between members of the same sex or gender. Okay? So, dito na mag-a-under yung mga tao, halimbawa, yung mga lalaki na nagkakagusto sa lalaki, yung babae na nagkakagusto sa babae. So, meaning, homo means same. Okay? Same sexual. So, you are attracted in your sex, in your same sex or gender. Okay? So that is homosexual.
The of psychosexual development claims that as we grow up, we pass through 5 critical phases. Our sex drive, which Freud called the libido, focuses in a different erogenous zone at each phase. The phases are called oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. If our experience during any of these phases was traumatic, we might develop fixations later in life, such as neurosis, dependencies, addictions, or depression. The oral phase, age 0 to 1. In the first year of our lives, we discover the world through our oral senses. Our main pleasure comes from sucking our mother's breast or a bottle. The conflict that occurs now is the weaning from our primary caregiver. Hans is weaned off his mother's breast without trauma. Ernst's mother stops feeding him within 4 months of birth, which is too early. Ida is often left alone crying when she is hungry. Hans becomes a healthy and independent adult. Ernst suffers from trauma and develops an oral fixation. He tries to compensate for it by chewing gum all the time. Ida spends her entire life looking for the oral stimulation she was denied as an infant, and therefore develops a manipulative and addictive personality. The anal phase, age 1 to 3. The primary focus of our libido at this age is the control of the bladder and bowel movements. We have to learn how to use the potty. Hans' parents praise his attempts to use the toilet and encourage him to learn at his own pace. Ernst's parents force potty training on him too early and punish him for mistakes. Ida's parents neglect any efforts at potty training entirely. Hans develops a competent personality and a good and balanced relationship with authority. Ernst develops an anal retentive personality. He becomes an over-controlling and stingy adult with disgust for his own body and a tendency to obey authority. Ida develops an anal expulsive personality. She becomes messy, disorganized, inconsiderate of other people's feelings, and rebellious against authority. The phallic phase, age 3 to 6. Our libido now turns to the genitals as we discover the differences between the female and the male gender. The boys' conflict in this phase occurs as a rivalry with their father, also called the Oedipus complex. Ernst and Hans desire to possess their mother and fantasize about getting rid of their father. But they know that their father is stronger and fear being punished for their desire. Freud called this castration anxiety. Ida experiences penis envy. She believes that a penis is the key to power and domination and also wants one. Hans' father was very present during that phase. Later, Hans resolves this conflict by identifying strongly with him. He learns to take on a male role. As an adult, he respects both genders. Ernst, whose father was absent during that phase, fails to develop a strong sense of manhood. He has a mother fixation and is not sure about his sexuality. He also tends to be aggressive towards women and constantly needs to compete with other men. Ida, like all women, maintains her penis envy for the rest of her life, which in her case causes an inferiority complex towards men. Latent phase, age 7 to 13. In this phase, our libido is suppressed as our sexual energy is being sublimed into developing life skills. Our superego strengthens, and we strongly identify with social values, same-sex heroes, and friends. Hans follows many hobbies. Ernst loves learning at school, and Ida makes lots of new girlfriends. There is no real conflict in this phase. All three of them benefit for the rest of their lives from the skills they developed during latency. The genital phase, puberty to death. Once we reach puberty, our libido starts to become active again and we develop an interest in sexual partners. Hans, Ida and Ernst face the challenge of balancing the sexual desires of the id and the needs of the superego to obey social norms. The development of a strong ego helps to find a compromise between the two. Hans, who has experienced a childhood without much trauma, succeeds in building a strong ego. He is disciplined at work, has a loving relationship, and a fulfilled sex life. Ernst's ego is weaker than his superego. He obeys norms and authorities, and as a result, suppresses his desires, which leads to the development of perversions. Ida has a weak ego and a weak superego. Her sexual needs are more important than social norms or other people's feelings. She is egoistic and feels no guilt for breaking the law or hurting others. To understand the theory, we need to see it in the context of Freud's famous work on the unconscious. By acknowledging that we have a subconscious, he also implied that we store memories of early childhood and other experiences without even realizing it. These past experiences then unconsciously influence our behavior on a daily basis. Freud claimed that our mind operates in 3 spheres, which we can imagine as a submarine. The unconscious level operates the id. The preconscious level operates the superego. The conscious and preconscious levels operate our ego. Young children are driven by the id and demand immediate satisfaction. At around age 7, we begin to develop a superego and want to become good moral citizens and please others. The ego is formed with adolescence to balance the 2 forces. Sigmund Shlomo Freud was an Austrian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis. Freud theorized that the unconscious would remember and store all our experiences. Later, they pop up from time to time through dreams and associative thoughts. By revealing traumatic memories and desires through conversation, we can free ourselves from our neuroses and live a more healthy and fulfilled life. He recommended we should not strive to eliminate our complexes, but to get into accord with them. They are legitimately what directs our conduct in the world. What do you think about this theory and the practice of psychoanalysis? Is there some truth in it? Do we have an unconscious? If so, does it really store all our childhood experiences and influence our behavior as adults? Please share your thoughts in the comments below.
Nonetheless, we should always accept who the people are. Okay? Try to accept them and try to accept yourself. Because if you don't accept yourself, you would be dominated with more bullies. Okay? They will dominate you. Okay? So, in yourself, let's try to uplift love. Okay? Let's not tolerate the hate to dominate this world. Let us not tolerate the hate to dominate yourself. Because if you stand brave, then you can gain your self-esteem and even your self-confidence to others. Because if you have the self-confidence in yourself, then nothing will happen. Love will cover you. The world will be enlightened with love. Okay? Just like Vice Ganda. Tingnan niyo si Vice Ganda. Tingnan yung pananamit ni Vice Ganda. The way he acts. Okay? Wala siyang pakialam kung anong sinasabi ng tao. Because he has the bravery. He has the confidence. He has the greater self-esteem. Okay? Nakikita niya kasi sa sarili na, dito ako masaya. Okay? Don't drag me down. Don't drag me into the place of sadness, into the zone of loneliness. Okay? So, I encourage everyone, I encourage the people, okay? The individuals who are in the LGBT community to raise your banner and wave as you wave yourself. Okay? That's my greatest advice to one of you. Okay? So, I hope na hindi na kayo na-confuse kung anong sexual orientation ninyo. Okay? And try to show who you are. Don't be pathetic. Don't leave yourself in the false self. Okay? Yung topic natin na true self at saka false self. If you leave yourself in the false self, then your life is not worth living. Okay? When you leave yourself in the true self, your life would be meaningful and bountiful. Okay? The glimpse of your life is really, really shining and shimmering. Okay? So, being true to yourself. Okay? Being true to yourself is you vividly seeing your goals, your paths, and even your dreams in life. Okay? So that ends the sexual orientation. And thank you guys for watching again my new video discussion. I hope na may natutunan kayo. Thank you!